was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all.
What? Well, I had to protect myself from Bangladesh. They beat South Africa. So I had to prepare myself. A, I had to protect myself because, COVID. Secondly, I thought it'd be cool. I'm getting ready to be an astronaut so I can leave Earth.
Uh, the shenanigans of Siddhant Pradhan, our supposed club cricketer, university squash player, whatever it is. I don't, at this point in time, it's hard to believe that you play any sport seriously. It's just hard to take you seriously at all.
Wait, hang on. I got it. I'm a cricketer who is out of this world. On that very happy note, welcome to the No Balls Cricket Podcast. I can take this off now because clearly shock value has been reached. Hold on, while. Meanwhile, you can talk.
Yes, well, that was Siddhant Pradhan. I don't know. I literally now I just don't know how to introduce him anymore. He plays cricket. He does dentistry. That's what you need to know. Yeah. Oh, sorry, he doesn't do dentistry. He does dental surgery. He used to do dentistry. Let's
you can use the official term, no oral surgeon.
There you go. Oral surgeon / part-time club cricketer
/ astronaut today.
Sure.
Must say, it's very difficult to breathe in that thing.
I would not have complained if it were just a little bit harder for you.
Okay, shenanigans aside.
I am Aditya Devrat. I'm not sure I should even call myself a journalist anymore because I have to deal, like journalism is a serious business and I have to deal with people like you.
When did anyone take you seriously?
I don't know. I think people stopped once they saw me with you on a podcast.
Maybe you should join in on these shenanigans.
Fine, maybe. But yes, this is episode 37 of our No Balls Cricket Podcast. We are back after a month. I guess we just kind of got caught up in the amount of cricket that happened in the last month since we had 3 test series and the Women's World Cup. And of course, the series that has forced you to don hazmat suits and whatnot, the Bangladesh beating South Africa in an ODI series.
Luckily, I didn't watch any of that because it would have been appalling. And I think my heart would have, I would have literally choked in there if I was watching it. Much like South Africa's women have done, but that's a different story.
I think that's just like, what is it with South Africa cricket in general across genders and World Cups?
South Africa semi-final, you know what's coming. I'm not going into it. Anyway,
why, we'll get in there. I have a line about South Africa and choking that hurts a little bit more, but
spill the beans because we're not talking about the women on this episode. We will cover that. We are going to cover the women.
We're doing a separate episode after the final. But the point being, if South Africa had to choke, why couldn't they just choke against us?
That is a very good point. But remember, they almost did.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking semi-final loss. I mean, not semi-final, sorry. Virtual quarter-final loss.
Anyway, more on that on a separate episode. We will record after the final. I promise you we are not going anywhere. We're not going on hiatus like we normally do. On that very note of hazmat suits, hiatus, it is now time to swing into the roundup.
Yes, the biggest news, I guess, is again we go back to the hazmat suit and the reason for SP's, I don't know, cowering, I guess is the word.
No, I have to. I had to protect myself, even though there's. Oh no, I'll tell you why I had to protect myself. So normally when you walk around Manchester, there's not very many Bangla people around, but I decided in my infinite wisdom that instead of walking back home, instead of taking the bus back home from the squash courts, I decided to walk. And then one of my friends told me that I'm in an area with lots of Bangladeshis. That's what inspired that suit.
And for context, we're not, just so people realize, we're not just like ragging on Bangladesh as an entire country.
We're not
The context the context is that SP was very nicely slagging off Bangladesh, the cricket team, on Twitter, and got into a Twitter beef with one cricket fan or several
Oh
different
man,
fans.
he gave me hell. I'm gonna put that up so you guys can see it. But yeah, that is literally, well, that's what's been happening in my world. So that's our roundup. Also, back to the cricket.
Basically, SP wanted to talk about the quality of Test cricket and how teams need to get better. And he, with as things are with SP, he tried starting off a serious conversation. Then, of course, it turned into clowning someone on the other. SP's favorite target quite often is the Bangladesh cricket team. So he happened to just encounter.
I have nothing. Let me just clarify. I have nothing against Bangladesh and Bangladeshis. I just don't like their cricket team. Simple.
I don't even think that it's not even that you don't like them. You just don't think they're good. And you just want to keep reminding people that you don't think they're good.
Isn't that the same thing as not liking their cricket team?
Well, no. See, I don't like the Australian cricket team, but I would never say I don't think they're good.
Yeah, but that's because you're just a Australian hater. I'm not a Bangladeshi hater.
Are you sure?
That's debatable.
But anyway, so as we got into Twitter beef, and then of course, right soon after this Twitter beef happened, Bangladesh would go to South Africa and win an ODI series, and of course, there have been Bangladeshis who have kindly reminded SP, I believe, that India went to South Africa for an ODI series and got whitewashed.
At no point did I speak about Bangladesh's ODI team, however. That was a really funny thing.
I mean, listen, once you start the clowning, then the logic, you've effectively allowed logic to go out the window, and therefore it went out the window.
Well, I mean, then they proved me right by losing 4 wickets to the world's best spinner. No, I'm not talking about Ravi Ashwin. I'm talking about Simon Harmer on his return to international cricket after what, 5 years?
That is quite funny, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing 4 wickets.
So I mean, look, dude, the memes write themselves, all right?
They're not even losing wickets to Keshav Maharaj. They're losing wickets to the South African spinner that everyone had forgotten about.
No, but apparently, according to most English county fans, he is the world's best spinner. I'm just kidding.
Listen, English county fans will see you bowl spin for 2 overs and think you're the best, world's best spinner. They don't know what quality spin looks like.
So far in the last 2 weeks, I've bowled leg spin and left arm spin and picked up wickets doing both. And first of all, I'm completely right-handed. I bowled left arm spin yesterday. So
yeah, you're doing this at club cricket level. I'm sure if you went and did this for Lancashire in the county championship, you would still pick up wickets. They're just like they just genetically cannot play spin.
Imagine Ravi Jadeja in the county championship. Anyway, we're getting way off track. Back to the roundup. So Bangladesh promptly beat South Africa 2-1 in the one-day series and has ended today at what, 90 odd for 4 in response to 390, I believe.
98 for 4 in response to 367. That 367 also that South Africa made. Bangladesh had them at 298 for 8. And then the last 2 wickets pulled out 69 runs. Nice.
Oh, so I'm not the only one that makes juvenile jokes here.
I think now it's just a rule of internet culture. You see 69, you have to say nice. That's it.
Whatever, dude. Whatever floats your boat. Sorry.
I'm talking about the number. I'm not talking about. I mean, if you want to say nice, if after seeing the actual thing,
you laughed at the number 69. There's no comeback from that.
Anyway,
juvenile is it's like you were 17 again or something. Anyway,
yes. Bangladesh did things to annoy Sid and then did things to please Sid after that. That's what happened.
And then my trusty hazmat suit has come to my rescue.
Yes. That is largely the roundup, because the other things that we have to talk about that would be roundup worthy are actually just the meat of our episode here. But we'll get into it. But basically,
there's only one more thing sorry, we need to add 2 things in the roundup. Obviously, we've missed the passing of Shane Warne. I believe we didn't really cover it in the last episode, but
well, because it hadn't happened when we recorded our last episode, so we couldn't have covered it.
This is also a very good point. Anyway, so 2 Australian legends passed away, Shane Warne and Rod Marsh. And in addition to that, Australia are currently locked at 1-1 in an ODI series in Pakistan. with Pakistan chasing down 350 yesterday, which was quite impressive.
Their highest ever successful ODI chase, actually.
That's pretty much the roundup, because we will cover the 3 test series in our meat of the episode.
Yes, we will do that, and then we will do I guess we'll just chat about Warne for a bit at the end.
Yeah, and
now I guess honestly, I know about Indian fans, but I feel like the most boring series to talk about in the last 3 was the India series.
Okay, fine. Let's sum up the India series as best we could. It is one of the world's best test teams against one of the world's worst test teams. Over 2 tests, what did you expect would happen? And that too on one very dicey wicket.
And the dicey wicket also then happened to be a pink ball test. I do think India kind of needs to figure out for pink ball tests, maybe just different pitches when it comes to pink ball, because I think
just make a flatter wicket. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, maybe.
Not rocket science. Anyway, notably,
do we need to talk? Yeah, I do want to. Okay, wait. Let's hear what you have to say about the series, and then I have a talking point.
I just wanted to say, notably from that series, 2 things: Shreyas Iyer, Rishabh Pant both stood out, and as well as that, Jasprit Bumrah got his first ever 5 on Indian soil.
Yes. For the conspiracy theorists out there, let us ask this question and then maybe answer it ourselves if we can. So people will remember this one infamous India-Pakistan match where Saurav Ganguly was not captaining because he was not in the side at the time. He was injured, I believe, for this test match. And Sachin Tendulkar against Pakistan, please note this, he was batting on 194, and stand-in captain Rahul Dravid declared with our great Sachin Tendulkar batting 6 runs away from a 200.
Also,
Rahul Dravid now.
Sorry. Before you go on, I also want to remind everybody that everyone's most hated commentator thought that declaration was a good idea. Carry on.
Everyone's most hated commentator who is a Mumbaiker and yet was happy with a Mumbai player being denied a double.
Yes, believe that.
I
literally saw a YouTube clip of that game about 2 days ago, so that's why I special mind.
That's interesting. So the reason I bring up this test match is because now, of course, that the stand-in captain from that day is now the manager, head coach, whatever the exact designation is of Indian cricket, Rahul Dravid. Ravi Jadeja was batting on 178, I believe it was, on day 2 of the first test against Sri Lanka. They were a few overs away from tea. There was some thought of letting him smash. Also, there was some other thought that it's just Sri Lanka. We could bat into day 3 and still bowl them out twice after that. So let him get to his double century. Of course, we declare.
As it turns out, and he said this in an interview afterwards, Jadeja said the declaration was his idea.
This is what he says. At face value, I have no reason to not believe him. He could just be being a good team player.
No, I don't think he's being a good team player. I just think that's Ravi Jadeja. He must have spotted. Look. I will say he's very street smart cricketers. He must have spotted something. Otherwise, I don't think he would have declared.
I do think I honestly think there was a bit of a confusion. I think the plan must have been to declare at tea and give Jadeja some time before tea to get the last 20 odd runs that he needed. And I think then when they realized that I think the plan must have been to declare with some overs left before tea to bowl at Sri Lanka, and that's why they declared when they did, and only to find out that there are going to be no more overs. Like, there must have been some miscommunication between Rohit Sharma and Jadeja and the umpires for whether there's going to be a break immediately or is it change of innings now. But anyway, more important thing to note is that Ravi Jadeja scored a masterful innings after the top order largely collapsed. Of course, Rishabh Pant did his Rishabh Pant thing, and then Jadeja came in, nearly scored a double century. I think we need to start counting him as among the all-time great all-rounders.
Yeah, I mean, I would. There's very few that have done what he does, and are still. I mean, he's still. Yeah, probably one of the best all-rounders that we've seen in world cricket. And I think the thing is that he's come a long way from where he started. I mean, he's a completely different cricketer to as Shane Warne famously called him, the rock star.
And it was quite a poignant moment actually that he brought up that century the day after Shane Warne died, and I think the night that morning or the night before, Harsha Bhogle had actually reminded Jadeja of this entire thing on Twitter, that Shane Warne had sort of plucked this guy out during Rajasthan Royals' first season in the IPL, called him a rock star, kept talking him up the entire season and mentoring him, and then we see where Jadeja is now.
So really, the only other thing we want to sort of discuss about that series is the crowd at the Chinnaswamy during the second test, because it was rammed. Okay, now I'm not against test matches going to smaller venues, but the thing that happens in India specifically is that when you go to a smaller city like, say, Mohali, for example, it's well outside of Chandigarh. It is quite far from the center of the city. You go to other places like Nagpur, and I've been there. It is miles away from the center of the city, and I mean absolutely miles away. It gets very difficult to get to, and nobody really wants to sit in these big bowls of stadiums, big fucking bowl of a stadium, where it just traps the heat in. So, I mean, two things to note. One, of course, day-night cricket clearly has to be the way forward for me. I think,
and we need to figure out more and more venues, like how to make more venues suitable for day-night cricket. Because I think, for example, I get the feeling Bombay might be a little hard for day-night test cricket.
Well, I mean, look, I think, I mean, I know we've been watching the IPL and you've seen the impact of the dew there, but I just feel that, especially in Bombay, the dew tends to have less of an impact in like at a test match start time, when you start at say 1 o'clock or something. If you start at 1 o'clock and you finish, because the sun sets pretty early, so you get a full session under lights anyway. Particularly during the test season in the winters, where it sets about say 5:30 in the evening or something. You won't get the impact of the dew until it sort of runs far later into the evening anyway. Also, so that's one thing. The other thing is, obviously, with the crowds, and we've been crying for this for a long time. Every time you play a test match in a big city, it's packed, whether it's a weekday, weekend, doesn't matter. The stadiums are full. You played in the last time they played a test match in Mumbai, Wankhede, full stadium. Chinnaswamy, full stadium. What does that go to show? Just have your 5 test match venues the way Australia does, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, Australia has also branched out, and taken test cricket to some new venues, and it's, to a certain extent, it's worked. But with India, I agree, because you kind of do like to see test match cricket played to a good, a good crowd watching the entire spectacle, and a lot of venues doesn't give you that.
Okay, that's all we have on India and Sri Lanka. I'm going to sleep now while you talk about the first 2 tests of the Australia-Pakistan series.
See, when I watched whatever little bit I've watched of that series, it was also putting me to sleep. The first 2 matches for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so Australia went to Pakistan first.
We have to thank our Pakistani friends, though, for doing us a massive favor in the World Test Championship by preparing those 2 roads to make sure that Australia didn't. I mean, to be fair, they could have improved their own chances by giving themselves spicier wickets, but those 2 draws have helped everyone else chasing.
Yeah, I mean, the third test, the second test, to be honest, was an epic blockfest. I mean, the second innings, where they were trying to chase 3. I mean, they could have tried to chase it. What is it, 450 or something? And they ended up 380 odd for 7, I think, at stumps on the 5th day.
And funnily enough, Babar Azam said we had no thoughts about going after the target, which I find interesting, because it may be a little more intent. And to be fair, Australia bowlers bowled well the entire series. I don't think Pakistan had a batting session on these placid pitches of batting at 3-4 runs and over, and that's what it would have required to get to that target. So
yeah, but okay, I mean, I have a different take on this, because if you look at that Pakistani lineup, there's only 2 people I would see that would score quickly. One is Babar Azam, of course, and the second one is Rizwan. Nobody else in that lineup scores quickly. Azhar Ali doesn't score quickly. Shan Masood definitely doesn't score quickly. Abdullah Shafiq,
you thought was doing award-worthy test.
I thought he was doing award-worthy blockathons. And you're looking at players like that, and they're not going to score. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're still not going to score quickly, because they're not those type of players. So I think that's a bit. I think being a bit unfair on them. I just don't think they have the personnel to chase a target like that and score quickly. Simple. I'm not saying it's a bad test team at all. In fact, I thought they did reasonably well, other than the most Pakistani of batting collapses in that first inning. I mean, you can't write that stuff. That really only can happen to Pakistan.
The other thing, the other thing I would say about not chasing that target is that Pakistan's batting lineup does it. Like their tail is literally 4 number 11. It's like Hassan Ali can slog sometimes, and so can Shaheen Afridi, but really between those two and Sajid Khan and Norman Ali, what do you expect?
Anyway, that leads us very nicely into the third test, where 3 things happened. One, Australia won the test match. They also won in Pakistan for the first time in 28 years. And while doing it, became completely meme-worthy. I mean, towards the end of that 4th inning, you could watch as when Hassan Ali got out, David Warner does the big Hassan Ali celebration. And then Mitchell Swepson, sorry, did I say that? Swepson? Oh, sorry. No, I was starting to sound like Rob Keane, who clearly is a gin and tonic drinker. Because the amount of times he called him Schwepson during that series was insane. So, Rob, if you're listening to us and planning on becoming managing director of English cricket, I'm sending you an entire case of Schweppes tonic. Enjoy. Mitchell Swepson took an insane catch and then decides to celebrate just like Shaheen Afridi would to the crowd, and it was, of course, Shaheen Afridi batting. So Australia in that second innings, it became completely meme-worthy. But it was a great test match. Usman Khwaja with an absolutely brilliant 100 in the second innings. And that really accelerated it, plus amazingly good declaration. I thought that was genius. I think
yeah. And it was a reaction to the second test, I guess, because they had the entire conversation of, did we declare too late to bowl Pakistan out, etc. And so very sporting declaration and good job on the bowlers to get those wickets.
Also, Steve Smith, what is that catching technique at first slip? Oh my God. I mean, honestly, if I was standing at first slip and my coach saw me doing that, forget running laps, I would have been thrown out.
It's shocking because he's one of the best slip catches around.
He dropped so many catches purely because of that.
Yeah. Maybe maybe his batting form is getting to him because he's just really annoyed that he keeps getting, this is bad form for him when he's getting 50s and 60s rather than 100s and 200s. So,
maybe. Also, just so you know, he's Steve Smith has only scored 1 test match 100 in the last 2 years.
And you can't even and you can no longer blame the fact that he didn't play Test cricket for the last 2 years because we're not talking about his suspension time.
No, but yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that was Australia versus Pakistan. Have we missed anything out? I mean, the first test, I don't even want to talk about it. It was such a snooze fest, honestly.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say is just some extra props to Usman Khwaja coming back to the country of his birth, obviously, and his home, where his family's from. Absolutely amazing series for him. Aided by some really good batting pitches, to be fair, but also just really dominated and has just kind of ended all conversations about whether Usman Khwaja deserves a place in the Australian 11. That conversation's over now.
Also, I must say, I initially thought that the decision to leave out Hazelwood from the second and third test was a bit iffy, but I think the way Stark in particular bowled, we knew what we were going to get from Cummins. I think the way Stark bowled sort of proved everybody right. And also, Cam Green has come such a long way as a cricketer from when we first saw him. It's unbelievable.
From that India series, he's so much better now.
Also, last thing about that series. Before the second test match in Karachi, this happened to Alex Carey.
Funny, not funny. Funny. Hey!
Alex Carey, then apparently by this happening, by this whole pool incident of his, he somehow just got some magic powers.
And he started making runs and he started taking catches, and suddenly Australia became, honestly, most meme-worthy tour I've ever seen in my life. It's been hilarious. From the celebrations to that, rebirth of Alex Carey or whatever you want to call it. Whatever. I'm not going to crack some bad joke about that. I'm actually stopping myself. I think there's too many for one episode, but yeah, incredible. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to take a nap while you talk about the first two tests, and then when you're done, when you're done, when you're done, wake me up and all that's over, and then we can laugh at it.
Yeah, England, West Indies, the first two tests. We got, instead of Calypso Collapso, we just got like Collapse Onto Your Bed series for the first two times, for the first two games.
I mean, Craig Brathwaite showed how to play cricket on that surface. Literally, it was the second longest
innings by, like balls.
150 plus score or something. It was sort of ridiculous. He batted 7.5 hours for 160.
I am now forgetting the exact stat, but I believe this was the most number of balls anyone's faced in a test match.
Not 7.5 hours. He batted 750 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, pardon. 750 minutes. I think there's only two test innings that have been longer than that. And one of them was Hanif Mohammed's triple century.
So this is the disparity I was going to bring up. I think that innings of his, he faced the most number of balls in an innings by a West Indian batsman since Brian Lara. The only difference is Brian Lara scored 400 in those of those deliveries. Craig Brathwaite just about managed 150.
Okay, so there was a lot of chatter about, on Twitter especially, about the makeup of the crowds at the first two test matches in Antigua and Barbados. Because there were more Englishmen than there were West Indians. And there's more Englishmen at a cricket ground when the bloody DJ is playing fucking Sweet Caroline. All right?
We got to tell our Guyana friends, I don't care how far Guyana is from the rest of the isles that make up the West Indies. Guys, just show up. Come on.
Yeah, we really had to send them there. Anyway, that happened. England looked like they were bossing the series. Well, at least their batsmen looked like they were actually batting for once. Zach Creepy Crawley got 100.
Dan Lawrence looked like a genuine test batsman. Johnny Bairstow looked like a test batsman for the probably, I don't know, the 100th falls down of his career, maybe.
Yeah, and then we get to Grenada. So in Grenada, I'm not sure. I think it's pronounced Grenada. I'm going to stick with Grenada. We get to Grenada, and for the
largely
first
because somehow England batting started treating West Indies bowling as they were facing grenades. So
no, wait. Well, yeah, that too. So in the first two tests, right? The West Indies, for whatever reason, decide in their infinite wisdom to play Veerasamy Permaul.
Because he's a great lower order batter.
I think I should put this on. I think I should put this back on and run away. That's what I felt like. Because, apparently his batting was more useful than his bowling, clearly. To be fair, it didn't.
Veerasamy-itis.
All right, I'll grant you that was a good one. But no, he turned out to be a better batsman than he did, to be fair, for his very limited ability. He did bowl decently well. But again, it's never his bowling that's been in question.
Wasn't he the highest wicket taker in one of those innings? In the second test, I believe, in the second innings of the second test.
This is how meme-worthy it is. They were playing against England.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway,
you know what I was saying at the top of this episode about how you could go and bowl in county cricket and pick up wickets. They literally cannot play Veerasamy Permaul. They cannot play spin.
They're giving on like the flattest wickets you've ever seen in your life.
They're giving wickets to Veerasamy Permaul. That says everything.
Anyway, so the first two tests on flat docile wickets happened while they were in the fucking London borough of Kensington Oval and the London borough of the Sir Viv Richards Stadium. Let's just call it the London borough. The third test was, finally a West Indian one, where they get a crowd that's filled with West Indians. They get a pitch that actually does a bit. And the West Indies does the smartest thing on earth. What do? They drop Veerasammy Permaul and bring in Kyle Mayers. Why is that important? Because of what followed. Another miracle.
Kyle Mayers got Joe Root twice in that test, both for low scores. First innings, he took 2 wickets or 3 wickets. I can't remember which.
He took 2 wickets.
And then
he took 2 wickets in the first inning.
Second innings, 5-4.
But I mean, the first 2 days of that test match were properly meme-worthy. England collapsed to whatever 115 for 8 or something. And
yeah,
it was 9. Beg pardon. 115 for 9.
96 for 8, and then 115 for 9. And then that last partnership between Jack Leach and Saqib Mahmood took them to 204.
204. But the funny thing was, so these guys came out, and then the West Indies tried like a bunch of things at them, and it didn't work. And then they just basically forgot how to bowl for the next sort of 2 hours. Saqib Mahmood gets his highest first-class score. And then of all the random people to end that partnership, Jermaine Blackwood. I mean, it was so bizarre because the test cricket tactic and parts of it were honestly shocking, but it made for fascinating viewing.
Yeah. And then the same thing happened the next day in the West Indies innings, where West Indies collapsed. We finally got our Calypso Collapse series.
Yeah,
West
I know.
Indies
We got a test match.
Yes. West Indies top order and middle order collapsed. They come down to they're down to the 9th wicket, and Josh De Silva shows up.
And for England, okay, I swear, after the year that they have had, right, Josh De Silva would have been like this horrible, evil final boss on a video game.
Josh De Silva, who's a keeper batter who can't really keep that well, but is in the West Indies side because they're good keepers, namely Nicholas Puran, of playing T20 cricket.
Yeah, and then Josh De Silva is like literally the anti-Bairstow. I swear to God, that is the best way to describe it. The anti-Bairstow. Everything that Johnny Bairstow is, Josh De Silva is not. All right?
So you would not let Josh De Silva shag your wife?
I mean, I wouldn't let anybody shag my wife. I don't know why Bairstow allows that, but whatever. Whatever floats his boat.
Apparently, the Barmy Army loves Bairstow that much.
Whatever. No, the Barmy Army would let Bairstow shag their wives. So anyway,
That's what I meant. That's what I said.
Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, point being, literally the anti-Bairstow. Bairstow likes to play attacking, fast-paced cricket, big hits left, right, and center. De Silva is a sort of obdurate, stubborn, almost crab-like batsman. I mean, I think the best sort of comparison you can give is he is like the West Indian version of Sunil Gavaskar.
Whoa. Now that, I mean, we can get our licks in on Sunil Gavaskar, but Gavaskar's we're talking an all-time great batsman now.
Okay, fine. Maybe that's a bit too much. But man, he was whatever. He was like a crab, literally like a crab. Like he hung on. And he made an absolutely amazing 100, however slowly he made it, because he got them the runs and they got 298. And then they had this wonderful 93 run lead. And then West Indies bowl, like 2 overs, Jaden Seals gets Zach Crawley fishing outside the off stump, like Zach Crawley normally gets out. After crashing 2 boundaries, and he finally nicks on, and the man mountain that is Jason Holder hangs on. And then they bring on Kyle Mayers in the second innings, and then literally all hell broke loose for the next half an hour. He first gets Joe Root fishing outside the off stump, which was hilarious to watch. I mean, that was absolutely hysterical. But then he goes on to pick up one of the cheapest 5-overs I've ever seen in my life. I think he finished with figures of 14 overs, 5 for 15 or something silly like that. And the beauty of this whole situation, the irony of this whole situation is England have collapsed to a bowler that they've probably, the type of bowler that they would have probably faced about 300 million times in county cricket.
Seriously.
It was so funny, and it was just unbelievable stuff to watch. In between all of that was the Johnny Bairstow dismissal, which was just tragi-comedy, honestly, tragi-com. Bairstow and Ben Foakes, those are the two tragi-comic dismissals. Stokes' indecision to leave, not leave, whatever, and then he nicks off. There was a drop catch in the middle of Alex Lee's. And Lee sort of hung on again, very crab-like, and he sort of clung on while basically the earth moved around him, and every Englishman fell into a pit. And and then there was the Bairstow dismissal. So they finally get a bit of a partnership going. Nothing's really happening. I mean, the ball's not doing much. It's gone a bit soft. They're batting well. And then Bairstow, who sort of played a very mature innings till then. So basically, Zai Joseph goes around the wicket to bowl basically sort of leg side short ball kind of line. And as they change over at the end of overs, Josh De Silva walks past Johnny Bairstow and then says, "You're scoring too slowly. You're scoring way too slowly. Don't know how to bat fast." Or something of that equivalent. Next ball, Bairstow with this, horrendous hoik. Tries this horrendous looking hoik to the leg side, under edges, and De Silva with glee takes the catch. Like the pleasure on his face. That was just gamesmanship and Bairstow losing his head. And then Kyle Mayers came back.
So can we say that Josh De Silva has avenged Tino Best?
Not quite.
No?
Not quite. No.
You don't think that was as good a moment as Mind the Windows and Tino getting out right after?
No, I think Tino avenged Tino when he got 94 the next time he went there. So I think Tino avenged Tino Best, and I think that beef was sort of laid down.
Okay.
Anyway, but who knows? Well, for once, England didn't say anything before the series.
They said some dumb stuff after the series where they're like, "Oh, we're happy with."
Well, yeah, but that's because they lost. But they said some dumb stuff after the Ashes, so I think that's just par for the course now.
That's true.
Oh no, sorry, you're right. They did say something stupid. Red ball reset.
Here's the secret to your red ball reset, England. Completely revolutionize county cricket. Stop rewarding people who bowl dobblers. Build pitches that reward fast bowling and good spin bowling with a little bit of swing, rather than just having anyone who can swing the ball around hoops under the clouds and whatever other conditions that English weather gives you. Just
the snow from yesterday?
Yeah, the snow from yesterday. Whatever. Tear the whole damn county cricket system up. Or okay, fine, the system's fine, but stop preparing all these shit pitches. All this talk about, India has all these spin-friendly pitches or spicy pitches in South Africa or whatever. The worst pitches in the world are the pitches where any random bowler in England from some county village can come and pick up Pfeiffer because he can bowl at 125 miles an hour and the batters can't play swing. Those are the pitches that you can't develop test cricketers on.
A classic case in point is a man named Chris Woakes. It just describes him perfectly.
Chris Woakes, who at home has a century, has averages what is it, 25 or something with the ball, some ridiculous number because he can, again, the swing aids him. Take him outside of England, he can't do a single thing unless on the rare occasion like the Granada pitch, there was a little assistance for bowlers and therefore he took 3 wickets.
Yeah, but Chris Woakes should not be part of it. I don't know, man.
Chris Woakes also, if you're doing a red ball reset and you're dropping Steve Broad and James Anderson because you think they're not, they take wickets at too slow a strike rate in away tests, and then you make Chris Woakes the leader of your bowling attack.
Oh, and play Craig Overton. Just
at least Broad and Anderson keep the scoring down. Like they still average under 30 or something away from home. They just take fewer wickets. Woakes takes fewer wickets and also averages over 50.
And okay, fine. So when you replace Broad, look, I'm not against moving on from Broad and Anderson. I never said that. What I am against then is replacing them with Wokes and Craig Overton, who literally this is what I tweeted a few weeks ago. It's like going from two Lamborghinis to a go-kart and a Reliant Robin. Never has that been more true. So who's the Reliant Robin and who's the go-kart? Well, at least Wokes at home has a bowling average.
Yeah.
But anyway, to sum it up, right? Getting bowled out by Kyle Mayers is just hilarious. But it just shows you the shambles that that English cricket is in. Now, in an era where the West Indies have been, let's say, below average, England have only won one Test series in the West Indies in 50 years. Okay, contrast that with Australia, India, New Zealand, and South Africa, who have all won the Test series the last time that they've gone to the West Indies. England haven't won a Test series in the West Indies since 2004. The last time before that, I think, was in the 50s.
And literally every other side goes to West Indies and West Indies can compete. We saw the last West Indies India series. There was some great bowling from the West Indies side, but like India's not going to West Indies and losing the series.
Yeah, no, agreed. Anyway, that's our take on the 3 Test series. So India winning, Australia winning, and West Indies winning. So, well, only the Australian one was a bit sort of unpredictable. We knew the West Indies were going to be different at some point.
Yeah. We should point out England are now bottom of the World Test Championship standings.
Yeah, and apparently every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the country decides to apply for managing director of the ECB. So.
We should point out also there's been this whole clamor for Joe Root to resign from captaincy, which there was after the Ashes as well. I'm gonna go back to it ain't gonna make a fucking difference. Make me captain, you're still gonna lose Ashes series 5-0 and West Indies series 1-0. Make Joe Root captain, that's the same thing that's going to happen. Doesn't matter who's captain of that side. You don't have good batsmen, you don't have good bowlers. Your county system doesn't produce good test cricketers. This is what's going to happen.
Also, what is this before we move on, what is this ridiculous insistence on not playing Matt Parkins? I mean, I don't get it. He's the best spinner that you have. He's probably better than Jack Leach. Why not play it?
Jack Leach is reliable and Jack Leach is the most English sort of player you can get. He's safe. He looks like you think of him and you're like, he might do a decent job. He's never going to be absolutely awful unless he's bowling in Australia against David Warner and Travis Head or bowling in India against Rishabh Pant. Apart from that, he's never going to be awful. He's also just never going to be great either.
So he's basically the modern day version of Ashley Giles.
I will say literally the nicest thing I can say about Jack Leach, genuine nice thing I can say, is that he's better than Ashley Giles. That's literally the best thing I can say about it.
Yeah, but Ashley Giles got Tendulkar. Leach hasn't done that. He hasn't got. Did he get Kohli?
I mean, Leach must have picked up some big wickets in India because we've prepared some amazing ranked turners in that pitch in that series.
Fair. Right. That's all we have to say about English cricket, because until they can find 11 individuals that can actually play cricket, they're not going to improve. Joe Root included. You can't get out to Kyle Mayers and not expect me to say that.
I'm not even arguing the point here.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, moving on. Right. On that very happy note, it is time to move into our favorite segment of the show. These are the No Balls Cricket Awards. Take it away.
Well, I mean, I've already said it, but yes, Jasprit. Did my camera's back?
Yes,
Jasprit Bumrah gets an award. Yes, Jasprit Bumrah gets an award for a wicket of a no ball. Annoying as fuck no ball wicket, because it would have been, if I remember, this is now this is too long ago for me to get the details right. But if I remember correctly, it was Pathum Nissanka at the end of the second day of the first test, and then of course Nissanka had a pretty good rearguard action in that innings. Could have been ended a lot sooner. And Saqib Mahmood also got a no ball.
Oh
wicket.
yeah, Saqib Mahmood did get a no ball, didn't he?
Yes.
That would have been his first test wicket as well.
Yeah.
And so he wins the Temba Bavuma award from the no balls cricket segment for taking a no ball while trying to pick up your first test wicket.
The Temba Bavuma award.
That is now reserved for people that are trying to pick up their first test wicket and then end up bowling a no ball when they do get.
No, fair.
So those are our two no balls cricket awards, and of course the main thing that we wanted to talk about.
No, but also just one very special award to the entire England cricket team for being so shit. Just this, that's it.
Here's your wooden spoon. They are also
Literally-
significantly bottom now. So
Literally, if you do the whole thing that a lot of people have suggested of turning Test cricket into a two-tier system with relegation and promotion, England would rightfully be in the second tier right now.
oh, absolutely, no question about it. The only reason they are in the first tier is because they are the owners of the 100, or they have enough money to sponsor the 100. Or I don't know,
And
man.
honestly-
100.
I feel like honestly, England would be better so playing some Test cricket against the likes of Ireland, Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, and just like those are going to be much more competitive series than what they're producing against the rest.
1 minute. Are you really asking England to bat against Rashid Khan?
That's also true.
So-
Rashid Khan's a better spinner than most they'll have to face outside of India.
That is my point exactly. Anyway, so we've only ever given, I think, one lifetime achievement award before this, and that was to Ravi Shastri because of his just meme-worthy career. But this next lifetime achievement award basically goes to the man who basically pretty much invented memes in international cricket. I mean, you can't have a more meme-worthy career than Shane Warne did. And it's a crying shame that we've lost him. I mean, it really is. What a fantastic cricket.
It was, I think for us, probably one of the most, for our generation, and especially for our generation of cricket fans, I guess the first real shocking bit of news we've had, outside of maybe for those of the ones slightly older who lived through the late 90s, early 2000s match fixing saga, this was probably the biggest shock we've had to our lives as cricket fans.
I mean, I'm not gonna, desecrate his memory and speculate on how and why he died. That's not for me.
Yes, who was it on Indian News TV who did that? I can't remember. Or was it
I
Gavaskar?
mean, I don't know, and I don't really care. I mean, whatever. Shane Warne was on holiday, and the medical reason is he had a heart attack. So let's stick with that. But the impact of Warne on, I mean, our generation obviously would have seen a lot of him because he was sort of, there were three rock stars of international cricket at that point in time, but no one quite matched the drama and the sort of gamesmanship that Warne brought to international cricket. I don't think I've never seen anybody outside of Warne be able to create an atmosphere like that.
And he did it bowling the format of bowling that nobody used to think was cool before him, and nobody's been able to replicate since then.
I mean, leg spin bowling has made a pretty big comeback because of T20 cricket, and
now, but it's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Limited overs wrist spin is different. Limited overs wrist spin is different to what Shane Warne did.
But that's what I'm saying. So the impact of Warne, and I mean, on a person like me now, and I'll admit this freely, I'm a fairly cynical cricket fan. Like, I'm staunch traditionalist, and I like attacking cricket in a particular sort of sense, right? The two things that I really enjoy, and I grew up wanting to be a fast bowler, but I had this soft spot for leg spin. Always did. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is Shane Warne. I don't think he made leg spin sexy. Nobody else did.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's just all the theatrics, and spin has always there's always this aura of mystery around spin, and that's not just an Indian thing. You had Murli, you had back in the old days, you had people like
Abdul Qadir was the biggest example of that.
Yeah, exactly. Abdul Qadir, Mushtaq
Yeah.
Ahmed. I'm thinking back also to the days of Laker and Jim Laker and
Tony Locke. You're also forgetting the
Laker and Locke.
Laker and
yes.
Locke, but you're also looking at people like the Indian Quartet. I mean,
Of course,
all of it.
yeah.
But they were. It was different because that's spin bowling. Warne was spin bowling plus you're playing Shane Warne.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he had this.
He had like the spiked hair and this like ambling, not really ambling, like walking to the crease while bowling, but walking with this like swagger that you've only ever seen with associated with fast bowlers before that, and just like you look at him and he just knows I'm gonna have some fun. Like that's literally the expression. Like when I see clips of him bowling now, it's just like you could just see that's what he's thinking in his head. Yeah, I'm going and having some fun right now.
But I think part of the appeal of Warne was you looked at a lot of cricketers over that period and you thought, this is serious, this is very serious. It didn't look fun. When Warne was bowling, there was this element of, oh, I'm enjoying this. I think, Brian Lara was one who was like obsessed. Or at least when I looked at it, he was like, he wanted to score and he wanted to score big and he wanted to get records. You looked at Tendulkar and he was like, oh, I have to sort of carry the weight of this team. You looked at Warne and it was just like, I'm gonna get him out.
Yeah, Warne was just like, I have to be Shane Warne. That's it. That's the only pressure I'm putting myself.
Exactly. I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing bowler. He's an amazing persona. Again, we're not here to discuss his personal life. That is not my thing. But I will say that you knew a Shane Warne sort of controversy was around the corner. But that's just the character he was. And I think the appeal of him was that he was that. He was essentially a cricket everyman with his flaws.
Yeah,
he was complete genius.
He was a normal guy having fun and going out and playing cricket.
Yeah. And the fact that he drank a shitload of beer and smoked a ton of cigarettes, that just added to the appeal.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think any cricketer in the modern era would manage that. It just doesn't happen anymore. Not in the age of yo-yo tests.
It's funny to wonder what Shane Warne would do in this like super hyper fitness era.
Yeah, probably.
Rohit Sharma looks like he has some fun. Like we know he's fit, but also he's not like maniacal like Virat Kohli. Rohit looks like he has some fun.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in for that era, I think Warne was the epitome of fun. Plus, he played in a great Australian team, so But he was one of the reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons.
He was one of the reasons. Yeah. He and McGrath, but Warne was something else because like you spend 20 overs or whatever facing McGrath, Gillespie, Brett Lee, and then suddenly this little slightly fat guy comes walking towards you, and the next thing you know, you've just lost another 5 wickets anyway.
And I just want to finish on this note. Obviously, the memorial service was held yesterday at the MCG, and this is how much of an impact Shane Warne has had on world cricket. Do you know what the viewing figures for that were?
Go on.
1 billion people tuned in yesterday to watch Shane Warne's memorial service. 1 billion people.
That's just. I mean, like you can't sum up his impact better than that.
1 billion people. Do you know what that means? If you
Basically,
walk down the street,
all of India,
pretty much. But if you walk down the street in India, right? Every fourth person you see is a Shane Warne fan. It's that ridiculous. The viewing figures or something of that set. So 1 in every 8 people on earth watched that funeral. Cannot sum up the impact. The only other thing I want to say, and this is how I'll finish it off, and we'll finish our episode as well, is that I had 2 favorite cricketers over the span, and they still remain my favorite cricketers, despite whoever else has come and gone over the years. And these are 2 for me because of who I've seen and obviously my sort of age. But from the people I've seen, Virendra Sehwag remains my favorite batsman, and then my favorite bowler. Despite the fact that I preferred and I love fast bowling and I love fast bowlers, Shane Warne was always my favorite bowler. And if you ask me about a World 11, Warne over Murli, always.
Yeah. I think like we honestly I don't want to like get into that discussion also, but because I just feel like it's the wrong moment to have. Let's just go into all the
No, I'm not trying to have a
stats
discussion.
of Warne and
I'm
Murli,
just,
but yeah, I
I'm
agree
just,
with you.
I'm just
I would
saying,
definitely pick Warne.
I'm just stating my personal preference. That is all. There's nothing else to it.
Fair.
They're both great bowlers. Obviously, I don't want to get into that discussion at all. But the point I'm trying to make is he's had an impact on my life personally, my journey through cricket. I've seen it through the eyes of Shane Warne. No, at least I've tried.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I can even say it for myself, and honestly, the funniest thing is my earliest cricketing memory doesn't even involve India. Like as far in terms of what I can remember going back, it was a '99 World Cup final. For whatever reason, even then, even before I had become a full-fledged Aussie hater, at the time I was rooting for Pakistan in that final. And I literally at the age of 9, I think I cried at the end of that final because of what Warne did.
But
great player.
My favorite Shane Warne memory. If you guys haven't, I mean, everybody must have seen this by now, so I'm not going to put it up. But we will include a link to the video that Rob has put up of it. Warne describing that particular dismissal, but
Brendan McCullum where he
no, Basit
which
Ali.
one?
Basit Ali.
Oh, okay.
Basit
No,
Ali.
I thought you were talking about the time when he came back to the Big Bash for one season randomly. Said this is how I'm going to get Brendan McCullum out, and then did it.
No. For me, it was always the Basit Ali dismissal. Simply because of Richie Benaud's brilliant commentary on that. In the most understated way possible, he's just gone, you wouldn't believe it, he's done him between his legs. I mean, who gets somebody out between his legs? Only one person.
I'm going to go a little more cliched, but I think my favorite Shane Warne dismissal is the second ball of the century, or the ball of the 21st century against Strauss. Because I remember that I had just moved back to India, so this is the first time I was getting to watch cricket at that level again, where like I could literally watch all 5 days of a test match at a time where it worked, given that we were living in India and that series was in England, and just watching that series of great series in general, but just watching him bowl to Andrew Strauss, and like I still see the replay, and I think I look at Strauss first and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I think about it from Strauss's point of view, and it's like, it just feels like Strauss is probably thinking the same thing about Warne. He's like, he sees that ball bowled. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm just going to let this spin past me and so I'm going to be fine. And then somehow walks past it and gets bowled behind his legs.
But that was the magic of Shane Warne. And on that very happy, slightly somber note.
Bittersweet note.
I mean,
we would like to pour one out for Shane Warne.
We will pour one out for Shane Warne. And that's our episode. I know it's been a bit of a long one, but thank you all for watching. And stay tuned. We have a lot more content coming up, obviously with the IPL on. And also we will have a special at the end of the Women's World Cup final. And yeah, have a good rest of your week.
See you guys.
If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to remain notified of all our upcoming videos. And if you're listening to us on any of these audio platforms, we're available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and Pocket Casts as well.